What's up, everybody? It's Bobby, and we are in a cafe, hipster style. Not talking about cameras this time. We are talking about iPads. The new iPad Air 2019 and the new iPad Mini 2019. And if you just want the Cliff Notes version of this review, I'll just say it right here and now. Apple has now completely dominated the tablet arena. To all you Android fans out there, I'm with you, I love you guys, but let's call a spade a spade. Until Google actually starts prioritizing tablet apps for the beautiful tablets that are out there made by other Android manufacturers, Apple has got this market cornered. We have some issues with this, a couple of them, small issues, but for the most part, these things kick butt. Anyway, let's get down to talking about the new iPad Air and iPad Mini 2019. Talking about the iPads for a minute, I do want to thank Apple Singapore for providing this for us to review. Having said that, these are our thoughts and our thoughts only. Like all our reviews, unless we tell you, these are not paid, okay? So if you like it, dislike the video, you can yell at me because these are my thoughts on it. And some of you do yell at me. Okay, let's talk about the iPad Air first and foremost. Now, this, of course, is a 10.5-inch display. It looks like iPads from the previous generations. For the most part, it's the iPad Pro a couple years back, but with the new A12 processor in it. You got the Retina display, it's a P3 color gamut on it, it's the laminated display in it, so it looks like it's right there. There's no gap or anything to it, it's right there in front of you. It's a beautiful display. It doesn't have the 120 hertz refresh rate that the iPad Pro does, but if you're used to using an iPhone XS, XS Max, or iPhone XR, or any of the previous iPhones, you're not going to notice a difference. It has that same refresh rate on it, and it's beautiful to use. If you're going to compare it to the Pro, there are some missing things. First and foremost, it doesn't have 4 speakers, it has 2 speakers. It doesn't have that more industrial design, flat-edged look of the iPad Pro. It has that more curvature design of the previous iPads. The display is not edge to edge, there's still a bit of a bezel there because you have to have the Touch ID, but it is easy to hold. I do find that the iPad Pro, as beautiful as the display is, it's just a full display. Yeah, sometimes when you're holding it, you can accidentally touch a little bit here and there on the screen, so you don't have that issue. In terms of storage size, you have 64 gigabyte or 256 gigabyte, the same with the iPad Mini. So with the iPad Pro, you can get up to 1 terabyte if you need that kind of storage. But if you're using an iCloud, you can sort of alleviate that. Overall though, it's just a solid device. There's really nothing to complain about. It's fast. It handles all the apps with ease. You know, you've got Apple Pencil usage with it now. You've got the older Apple Pencil, which we'll talk about in just a second. But there's really nothing to complain about with the iPad Air at all. This is the iPad for about 80% of you out there. If you're looking for something that you just want to browse the web and you want to do some photo editing and you want to do some movie editing, but you don't want to spend that kind of money that you'd have to spend for the iPad Pro for those extra features, this will be the iPad for you. Okay, let's talk about the iPad Mini. Everything I just said about the iPad Pro relates to the iPad Mini, but I'm glad the Mini is back. I love the Mini. And actually for me, I use the Mini in a different way. I mean, I use it for, browsing the web and photos and all those kind of things, but for me, I actually host a number of events, I host TV shows, I host movie premieres, I host tech forums, I host a lot of things live. And for a lot of MCs or hosts out there, they like to use note cards. For me, I like to use the iPad Mini because if I ever have to make notes or have to jot things down on the fly, I can do that. Now, the cool thing with this iPad Mini is you can also use the Apple Pencil now with it. So instead of having to rely on actually typing out notes or having any changes that I would need to in my workflow, I can just write it down with the pencil, and there I am. And the thing about the iPad Mini is great. It still retains that same size that as the previous iPad Mini, but it feels a little bit thinner in the hands. It's just light, it's easy to use. It's just a beautiful thing. I mean, I like to use this in bed. Besides hosting. I mean, I like to sit there and I just like to browse because sometimes you want a bigger display than your phone. Maybe this is a little bit big if you want to lay back and just kind of, watch something and you don't want the iPad to fall on your face. Well, this is where the Mini comes into play. And it's great. I have nothing bad to say about the Mini. If I had any mild complaints about the design is that yeah, that bezel could be a little bit, smaller. Because if you look at the iPad Air, and we'll show this to you in a minute, you see that the screen goes right near the Touch ID button, but we've got a little bit more gap here. I think Apple could have alleviated a bit of that gap and just made the display a little bit bigger on it. But it is what it is. We walked away for the 2020 version of the iPad Mini. But besides that, no issues at all. Okay, so what don't I like about these iPads? To be honest with you, there's not much, but if I need to nitpick, and it's going to be a couple things here, it's going to be the ports. They went back to Lightning. We thought for a second when the iPad Pro came out, USB-C for the MacBooks and the MacBook Air and the MacBook Pro, we're like, okay, we are now transitioning to USB-C. The iPhone for 2020, actually for 2019, yeah, the iPhone for 2019, yeah. The iPhone for 2019 is going to be USB-C. We're all excited, right? We got one plug to do everything. Then Apple threw us a curveball. They said, nope, hold up, we still like Lightning. And we made these new iPads for Lightning. And all of us were like, but why Apple? Why did you do that to us? Because now I need to buy another dongle. You see what I'm getting at? Because if you have the MacBook Air or the MacBook or the MacBook Pro, chances are you have a USB-C dongle to, let's say, use for, external displays or SD cards or whatever it may be that you have an external port for. And that's a USB-C port. Now I have to go back to the Apple Store and I have to buy a Lightning port adapter for those same things that I would pretty much use on my MacBook Air Pro or MacBook. Apple, you're making us spend more money unnecessarily. Why? Why? Anyway, that's an issue I have. Second issue. I love the fact what Apple did with the iPad Pro in terms of its smart keyboard cover, because one of my biggest complaints about the covers of previous iPads is they only cover the display, and this beautiful aluminum back gets scratched up in your bag because there's nothing protecting it. And then Apple said, well, wait a second, with the Pro, we're going to make a cover that fits the back and then the front, so your iPad is enclosed. And I was like, oh, thank you, Apple. I've been wanting this for years. And what did they do with the iPad Air and the iPad Mini? They went back to the old design. Now, I need to worry about scratching the back of this iPad Air and iPad Mini. So, there are fixes for this, of course. You can buy a third-party cover, or you can actually just sort of get, let's say, a skin. But Apple, why didn't you just make the same iPad cover that you made for the Pro, make it for this? You could have done it. And last but not least, we're back to the old pencil. Now, I understand this from a design perspective because on the iPad Pro, it's a flat side and they can actually put a wireless kind of charging dock there that's magnetic. So I get that. And I guess with this design, it's kind of hard to do that because it's all curved and it wouldn't really work. But nonetheless, this is the iPad pencil a lot of us lose. And unfortunately, you do have to charge it either sticking into the bottom of the iPad where it looks like an appendage, or I have to say this because some people were like, well, wait a second, there's an adapter inside the box that you can use for your, your charging cable. Yes, but you pretty much will lose that little adapter. You can charge it that way as well. But if you're on the go, now it becomes the iPad Air with an appendage. We're back there again now. I understand, gotta cut corners. You can't get everything to be the Pro because then everybody's gonna like, why buy the Pro when the Air can do pretty much 80% of what the Pro does, but still. That's a small complaint. The other two I feel should have been rectified, but this one I kind of understand. Now I've been comparing the iPad Air and the iPad Mini to the iPad Pro for the most part, but what about the iPad 2018, the base model iPad, right? Now, look, everyone has their own budget cap, and there's no problem with that at all. We all work hard for our money. We do the best we can. I will say this, after using these two, and of course the Pro, and the iPad 2018, which we reviewed before, which we'll put a link in the description below, if you can afford a few $100s more, I do recommend going to the iPad Air, especially if you want the larger size. And I'll tell you why. First off, you get a larger display, 10.5 inch versus 9.5 inch. It's a better display overall, P3 color gamut, anti-reflective coating. It's the laminated display, so it's right there. It's just a much more advanced display, right? You get the A12 processor in this, which gives you the performance that you're getting in your iPhone XS Max, XS, iPhone XR. It's in this iPad. And you get the smart connectors there, so you can use the Apple keyboard. You don't need to get a third-party keyboard. You can use the Apple Pencil. You get all these great things you can do with it. And I feel that with that $300 or whatever it could be, a little bit more depending on the storage capacity and accessories that you get with it, that little bit more that you're spending is going to last you a lot longer in terms of usability, because we don't upgrade our iPads every year. This is one of those products that you upgrade every maybe 2 or 3 years, right? Our phones are different, but iPads, we pretty much let them sit around for a while. So I think it's worth the upgrade investment. But if you can't, and I respect that, I totally get it, the iPad 2018, as I call it, or the basic iPad, will be fine for you. But I would recommend try to upgrade to this as much as you can. I really believe this is going to give you a number of years more of usage, especially with the iOS upgrades coming out there and so forth like that. Besides that, as I said before, Apple has dominated now the tablet arena. Nobody's coming close. I'm sorry, once again, to you Android fans out there. Yes, some of the other manufacturers make beautiful tablets, but the apps that you can do on this thing, the power, Lightroom, Infinity Photo, there's CAD programs, there's so much you can do on the iPad now, and it's so powerful. Yes, in a lot of ways, this can replace the laptop for many of you that just do day-to-day things. And the Pro, of course, as I mentioned before in our previous review, which we'll put a link in our description below, rivals the MacBook Pro in some instances and even beats it in some arenas as well. But anyway, those are my thoughts on the iPad Air and the iPad Mini 2019. These are the iPads for the majority of us out there. You're not going to be disappointed at all. They are powerhouses. And you know what? If you want something small, the Minis are beautiful. I love the Mini. Calm down, Bobby. I'm in a cafe. But anyway, those are my thoughts. And leave your comments and suggestions below. Don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube. We appreciate you guys. We love your comments. We love your feedback. Follow us on Facebook. Until the next one, take care. That's my hipster look. I have to do the sip of coffee at the end of the whole review just to kind of complete the look.